Probably won't answer now because he's got to go back to work. But yeah, it's Jesse Mendiola, and I like how he talks about recovery, and it tells people what's very possible when you achieve sobriety. So we'll go back into the KUAM News, the Zoom room, where we're going to start with Athena here. And Athena, if you could just tell us a little bit about, because I know it all kind of starts from Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center, and then we do the sub grants out to the Lighthouse Recovery Centers, the Oasis Center. So let's just start with GBHWC and your role in the front lines of recovery on Guam.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Hey, Sabrina and
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us from San Francisco. I didn't know we were going to get a long distance call.
well, I have a house full of kids. They're going to be walking by. Yeah, so we've been running every month for the last 20 years. So we started in the year 2000, and since we started contracting with our partners in the community since 2004 and 6, we started to build this partnership for Recovery Month. So every year we all sit together and we start planning. We plan early, especially because we have Valerie, who kind of pushes everything and says we need to start planning now, and it's December, and we just finished Recovery Month in September. So that's what we're doing every year with our partners. We sit as a committee and invite peers to the table to sit and be a part of the planning for Recovery Month. It's a little different this year.
Yeah.
It's not as Recovery Month is meant to be very social, so it's a little bit difficult for us this year because we know that really our connections are just through virtual meetings and talks and things like that. So we're working on getting used to that change. But other than that, yes, Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center has been at the forefront of starting up recovery.
Water, whatever.
Thank you, Athena. We're going to go ahead and fold in Val and Jeremiah. We have Valerie Regis, who's the Lighthouse Recovery Center director, and Jeremiah, who's a peer recovery specialist. Good morning, Val. Good morning, Jeremiah.
Good morning.
And hi, Val.
Good morning to the dog.
And good morning to the dog too.
Yeah, I got a couple of dogs here.
That's okay. They sound talkative. We'll just start with what you had said, Athena, and I kind of want to dovetail off that. PCOR 1, pandemic, coronavirus. I'm sure a very, very integral part of the recovery process is being able to, like Jesse had said, go in and see the people that you're trying to help to, do those spot checks. Hey, surprise. to get that face-to-face interaction. So how have you guys had to evolve during this pandemic to continue to provide those services that you provide? I guess Val will start with, or go ahead.
Right. We're just doing it how everybody else is doing it. We have to do the virtual thing if possible. Even if that means if it's not virtual, then we do by telephone as much as we can. But I know the Lighthouse, I know it's different for our peers though, because our peers really, they're meant to be face to face, and we do have some peers that they still go out and they still check on clients. They try to be as protective as possible with the gloves and with the mask and 6 feet, but they really will go out and check our consumers. But with treatment wise, we have to provide it the best way we can, as virtually as we can.
Val?
Anything to add, Val?
Morning, Val.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Guam. Shout out to the Lighthouse Recovery Center.
LRC.
They're all excited.
Yeah.
We have a great group of clients. I think they're all perfect. They are allowing the Lighthouse to continue to provide treatment. They're under lockdown, and they've been really keeping it together, monitoring them, and we've gone remote for our outpatient clients. We continue to drug test because that is a very integral part of treatment, and we have the ability to safeguard individuals when they come to test. We're continuing treatment.
Right.
Treatment hasn't been stopped.
It's essential.
We have our contract under Guam Behavioral Health, and we have a capacity of 28 beds, and we have quite a few beds filled at this point.
Nice. And also joining us on the Zoom, we have Christopher Francisco, the LRC clinical supervisor. Good morning, Chris.
Morning.
Jeremiah.
Morning,
Everybody.
Morning. I wanted to take it over to Jeremiah as the peer recovery specialist, right? And I talked about this with Jess before you guys came on. During this pandemic, people may have, got it together, right? May have turned that corner. Here comes COVID. Lose a job, lose a life, how hard is it? And are there the success stories when you go around and you check on your peers?
Well, it's extremely hard. One, because with recovery, human contact's very important. A lot of us are huggers. We like to hug, and one of the things that's a real challenge for us is being able to have that face-to-face human contact. So we do the best we can. Dealing with our peers that we work with and whatnot, regarding observing all of the safety measures as far as what's working COVID. Yeah, so and for our peers, it's definitely affecting a lot of their recovery. As far as their mental health wise. You know what I mean? Because, as we know, that our crisis calls have gone up 2,000% since
Right.
March. And that's a real big thing. So there's a lot of stress that we got to deal with one day at a time.
Chris, let's go ahead and check in with you on the clinical side of LRC. What are you seeing during this pandemic?
So the pandemic and the isolation. So isolation could be a big trigger for a lot of our clients. Now, there are avenues in order for positive coping skills. Like I know that 12-step meetings are being held online. That's one of them. Also, if our clients want to make contact with us, we can do it virtually via Zoom or via phone. But it's another one of those life stressors that people have to contend with when they're in recovery. It adds on something else that they have to cope with. But if they work their program, I found that a lot of our clients are able to maintain their sobriety despite the COVID virus and the lockdown. Plus here at the LRC, we kind of have, the Salvation Army has the food bank, and we have other services to try and satisfy certain needs that people might have insofar as food, and just meet their basic needs. And so if it might be a clinical thing where they're in recovery, but a lot of our clients might also need basic needs that they need filled, such as food.
Right.
And so we try and attack the issue from all angles, not just from a recovery and clinical standpoint.
Right, because when you talk about the isolation, that is one of the triggers, if you will. But then so would not being able to put food on the table.
Yeah, exactly. People in recovery, or people in general, have a survival instinct that they might tap into, if they can't get their basic needs met.
Val, so we hear about the struggle, right? But tell us about some of the success stories that you're seeing during this pandemic.
Well, we do know that there are international 12-step meetings, ongoing 24 hours a day. And there are folks from all over the world that are on those, on this one particular fellowship 12-step meetings. Last I was on it was over 600 plus people. They can call the Lighthouse and we will give them the login number for the Zoom. But we do know that recovery is very possible, even during a pandemic. And I was talking to Miss Athena last week, and I was looking up the definition for pandemic, and I was thinking, what? For us treatment providers, we've been in a sort of a pandemic ourselves, because we have been dealing with this disease of addiction, and we know it's a brain disease. It's not that they're bad people or that it's a moral failing. It's there's a certain region in the brain that when you wake that up, it's a primal instinct. And a person who finds themselves struggling with drugs would rather use drugs than to even eat. And so we teach that in our treatment centers. And we know that people who do experience some form of recovery, if they stay long enough, they will feel and see the benefits of it. And I always remind clients that if you've been using drugs for 18, 20 plus years, entering a 6-month treatment is not going to fix all the problems. It takes time. And I was listening in on Jesse's presentation a little bit earlier, and he said something is very, I think it's critical to understand is while in treatment, we lay the seeds down and they leave, and it's their responsibility to water that and then to see it grow. And whatever you put in is what the fruit is, what's going to come out. So if you gave enough time and enough effort into your form or your definition of recovery, you will see some form of benefit. You know, simple things like having an ID, going to your job, and then you get to stress out on simple things, or I won't say normal, but things that we didn't stress out about before, you know, like I got to go do my laundry, I have to pay my power. Those are the privileges of recovery.
Right.
Because while we were actively using, we got our power disconnected every other month. And so, you know, we're tired because we have to go to work. I mean, what a beautiful thing to have a problem with, you know? So I think that there's a lot of folks out in our community who are in recovery and who are able to sustain their recovery even through a pandemic, because we've all lived through hell. And we've survived so much more than what we're going through now. I think that if you can survive 18 to 20 years of using, you're a soldier already. You just were in the wrong part. Yeah. So I think it's very possible that folks can live in recovery and become productive members of our community and pay things like taxes and stress out about lining up at the bank to cash their check. I mean, what a beautiful thing.
Or paid her bill.
Right.
Not so beautiful, but you know.
Yeah.
Well, all I can say really is we just really appreciate everything, you know, the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center is doing, the Lighthouse Recovery Center. But at the same time, it's got to be frustrating on your end when you don't see, because there's only less than a handful, I think, of places people can go to get treatment. And it's got to be frustrating when you don't hear from our elected leaders about, I guess, providing more resources to fight this battle. Because sometimes I feel like you guys are out there on your own fighting this battle.
It does. It feels like that. And I can tell you this, it's just an idea. But if we could get even just 1% of the taxes from alcohol sales, we can increase bed space on Guam. Just 1%. It's not much. But I can tell you that if we can secure more resources as far as funding, the Lighthouse can and will hire other counselors. We will increase bed space. We have the capacity to do that, and we can double up. I refuse to believe that there's only 15 people on Guam that need treatment. And I know that Oasis is doing the best job they can, and their bed space is limited as well. So if you look at our population and the number of people getting arrested in the front newspaper, and we are now seeing that there's a spike in females getting in trouble with drugs, we know that it doesn't match. The numbers don't match. We need more beds. Yeah. We need more money to fill beds.
You know,
Right. Athena?
that's in the works. You know, our director is already, Teresa Ariola, has already expressed to me that we have some funding available that's coming our way. We also have grants that we have that are available. It's a constant working on making sure we have those resources, and it looks like the government is look. I mean, the government already said that substance use treatment is one of her main platforms, and she's really pushing to get a lot of resources to come our way. And I have spoken with our director, and she's made it clear that she wants to increase bed spaces. She wants to look at more real estate in terms of helping house deal with their programs, because that's what we need. We need the programs to expand.
Well,
And it's in the works, slowly but surely it's getting there, and it's pretty exciting for us. It's been a long time coming for the expansion, and it looks like it's really going to happen. So we're working on that. But you talked about success stories also earlier, and really our theme for this year's for Recovery Month is celebrating connections. Is that a lot of our consumers, if anything, always told them since I started at the Guam Behavioral Health 20 years ago, we always reminded them stay connected, you know, and celebrating connection. Really, what we do is to keep their treatment and their recovery more successful.
Perfect world. You have an unlimited budget. What type of facility does the island of Guam need to just really turn the corner on recovery and addiction?
In a lot of the talks that Valerie had, and we've talked to Oasis, and it really looking at recovery homes is something that we really want to work towards, because we have individuals who go into residential, but when they complete the 6-month program, if they don't have a follow through, if they don't have secured housing, if they don't have a job to look forward to, then we end up losing these consumers back out into use again. And having recovery homes is something that's different, because then they learn, you know, to live with other people in the home, but also learning to pay bills again, learning to budget, learning a new craft, learning a new trade, something other than, you know, dealing drugs and whatnot. But recovery homes is really something that we're looking into, so that we can help the individual move forward after they've completed initial treatment, because, you know, they feel successful when they've completed initial treatment, but if they have nothing to follow through on afterwards, like school or new goals or a job, then that makes it a little bit more difficult for them and what they see for their future.
right.
So recovery home really like our new
Holy Grail.
Mhm.
yeah.
And I just wanted to give a shout out, really, to another success story from the Lighthouse Recovery Center to Eric Borja.
Right, my man.
He's getting married today to Shalina Matsanani. So
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave. Don't come knocking.
Ready for
Jeremiah, I wanted to kind of maybe direct this question to you, is because being in the media, we report on a lot of these, well, like the bus, right? I mean, and you see so many times the same people just over and over, pulling over, the glass pipe, the straws, the, you know, robbing, breaking, entering, but it seems to be like, I mean, geez, I don't want to oversimplify it, but it's like the same 20, 30 dudes and women. How do we reach those, like the career offenders who are just so deep in it that they just need that lifeline? Or do we have to wait until they're ready to turn their page?
Yeah, I think you hit it in the head, the nail on the head right there when you said we have to wait until they're ready. And some of the things that can prepare them or have them change that view is maybe another arrest and things of that nature, because sometimes jail does work, you know, and sometimes it doesn't work the first couple of times. So with a lot of the bust that's going on here in Guam, you know, they just don't see a bottom yet, you know, and you know, you reach your bottom when you stop digging, when you decide to stop digging, you know. So they definitely have to be ready for recovery, because it's a whole new way of life, really.
Right. Do you ever see those mug shots, those stories in the news, and you ever think? I mean, I know you said, and we'll direct this one to Chris or whoever wants to answer it, that they got to make that decision on their own. But I mean, it's got to just hurt your heart to wait for that moment when everything in you is like, let me reach these people, let me help them, let me share what I know, let me share my story, when they're just not ready.
Right.
So,
And, you
Chris,
know,
Chris, one of
It's
the one of the definitions or the diagnostic criteria for substance use disorders, continued use despite negative consequences.
right.
Now, that's so those arrests, those negative consequences that people experience, that's their normal, and it's very difficult to elicit a change through negative consequences, because that's just one of the tenets of a substance use disorder. I think that, and one of the things that we do is we meet the client where they're at. Now, they can be ambivalent or they can be very pre-contemplative, but we're trained in how to increase motivation by showing the clients, like, have them think about what if you did this or what if you did that. It's called motivational interviewing, and that's one of the tools that we employ. The most important thing is that they come through the door, they try and make contact. A lot of our clients that we get here at the LRC are court ordered to enter treatment, but they still have to make it through the door. So, if they can make it through the door, then at least we can work with them.
Right.
Usually, Chris, it's the person who's the person who's using the drugs is usually the last to realize that there is a problem. It usually comes in way of messages through the boss or loved ones, and usually the person who's actively engaging in misuse of substances will be the one to not see the problem until it's the last thing to look at,
Right. Can we talk about a little bit? There's a comment here from Bobby. Hi, Bobby, about support, right? For families who want to support their family members. And let me just give you maybe something, generally speaking, like and it's so tough because I've had the family members where it's just, they're addicted, they're stealing from the family, they're, domestic violence, all that. But, in our culture, it's just so much munga, munga, munga. At what point does a family involve you guys or the authorities? Because a lot of times I feel like when we have these addicts in the family, it reaches a point where they're preying on our empathy and our compassion and just our culture to just always, no matter what, take care of the family, and maybe even if that means covering things up so that we just set it and forget it and accept that the norm is, Joseph is going to steal the bush cutter. Oh, he stole this again. Oh, okay, So at what point, when you talk about the users and the addicts being the last to know, does the family also have a role in calling you guys and reaching out for help? Because, I know families and they're just struggling with it and they're in over their heads.
Absolutely. A lot of families call us. They call us. They want to know what they can. Really, a lot of what we talk to them about is to come to our family education program so they can learn more about addiction. But we also tell them, you have to also focus on yourself, because you're spending a lot of time focusing on the individual who's using, and just continue to encourage them. Hey, when you're ready, I know a place you can go. I know who you can call. I give them my name. I give them my number, and I let them know that. I have a peer call them to actually call the individual and say, hey, my name is so-and-so. When you're ready, come into treatment. I know a place you can go. Sometimes we have our peers go out and get people, and we have them, walk them in the doors and help them get through, because really that's the first thing, is that it's just taking that initiative to come in and get the help when you know there's a problem, because family's telling you, hey, something's going on, this is not right, you're hurting all of us. But families we have a lot of help for the families. Every organization that we have partnerships with have a family education program. Ours is open to the public, although we haven't had it's only Zoom wise that we can provide services right now. but that's better than none.
Amen.
You know, it's always available. The education program, we want them to understand addiction and really what's going on in their loved one's brain and why they're behaving the way they do. It's not so much an excuse as to why they do what they do, but it's a biological issue that's happening, a concern, and we want them to know normally when they're not using, this is not how they would behave, and they know that.
Yeah.
So having them understand that and work with it helps them understand and helps them talk to their loved one and have a better communication with them once they understand addiction a little bit more.
Right.
But otherwise, families are always give us a call. Our crisis line is 24/7. I know that Togi is also just opened up their warm line, so that's another resource that they can tap on.
Warm line. I like that.
To go off
Go
what
ahead.
Athena was saying, the importance of the family education program, and I encourage family members to come in and check it out, before the fact, before they discover that someone's addicted in their family, is to understand that addiction is a family disease, and the family model of addiction, everybody has a role, right? To understand what role you played in that disease is very important, right? So that everyone can recover. So what happens is that the person in recovery, you have the person in recovery, and then you have the family recovering with the person. So that's the best way to understand this and learn about the disease and whatnot, because it is a disease. So we're dealing with, in essence, we're dealing with people that are sick.
Val, if you could, we're up against the top of the hour, and we got all month, guys. I reached out to Therese and Val, if we could get you guys back on to kind of maybe more specifically look at some of the services that you guys are offering. But I'll just give you the floor, message out there to not just the people in your programs, but maybe those people you want to reach or their families or their friends.
You don't have to suffer or struggle with this alone. There are treatment centers and treatment providers, and we are here. We're not promising that we're going to make things better, but we are saying we can do the best job we can to work with you and your family. I can say that.
Numbers? Who do we? Where are the numbers? So we're telling families to call. Maybe give us the numbers, a website, Facebook page, ways to get a hold of you guys.
For the Lighthouse Recovery Center, the phone number is 477-7671. And my cell number is 727-8533. And you can text or call. Some folks are not comfortable calling, so they feel more comfortable texting, and that's completely fine. We don't close. We're open 24 hours, 7 days a week. So if you are in a need of to just get a hold of a person, just call the Lighthouse and the message will be passed on. 477-7671.
Athena?
Yes. Okay, so Guam Behavioral, of course, our crisis number is 647-88. Give us a call line, and what they'll do is they give me heads up on who's called with the number, and we return the call as soon as possible. So that's normally what we do. I'm also right now searching for hold on.
Yeah, I kind of.
They just got their warm line up and running.
Oh, nice.
I believe they're.
I've got the
You
number.
have the number?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
can you say
So
it
it's 98. So the Togi warm line is 989-6687, and that's a 24-hour warm line. So 989-6687.
Right, 989-6687.
Yeah.
Chris,
The Togi.
Jeremiah, Val, thank you guys so much for joining us. Athena, let's go ahead and get you guys on later on in the month, and we just really want to go in on. Maybe we'll get Eric on too when he's on a day he's not getting married.
Yeah.
Be safe, and definitely we appreciate your work as frontliners in this recovery pandemic, right? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
see
you.
you. Esteval.
Thank you.
Okay, Chris, Jeremiah. Bye, Athena. All right, 9:02. Good morning on you. It's the Link of the Breeze, 93.9. A lot has been happening behind the scenes here as we just got the word.